something that looks completely opposite from the call. I know that you told me that this would then happen, but how come you said that this would happen, but something completely opposite from what it is that I thought you said takes place? And David is then a musician, and he is sent, watch this, to come to the house of Saul. Saul, then the king at the time, follow me, the king at the time, the Bible said that there were evil spirits that was released upon Saul. Saul wanted someone to come and play music so that the music then would soothe the evil spirit that was upon Saul. David then is called. David didn't go searching for the occupation. He was called to the occupation. This is how you know something is God ordained. Generally, when God sends you something or he draws you to something, you don't have to go searching for it. It comes to you. It tackles you. It comes to you. It apprehends you. And this is the thing that apprehends David. David is just doing his regular routine. He is anointed, but now opportunity comes to David. He is a musician. At the point of being a musician, he is then using a natural, watch this, it was a natural thing, just playing music. This natural thing that he was doing. Little did David know that this natural thing that God told him to do would really be doing a spiritual thing. I want you to hear me very carefully. Little did David know that the job that God then told him to go to, on the surface, it just looked like a 9 to 5. I punch in the clock, I punch out the clock. I sit at my desk and I do what it is that I have to do. But David didn't know that in the spirit realm, devils was being rebuked. That he was treading upon serpents and scorpions as he was doing the natural thing. I understand that God then, everything that God sends you to, is natural. But watch this. If he sent it to you, not only is it a natural thing, but it's a spiritual blessing that comes beneath the thing that he sent you to do. The very patience that you were praying about, the very attitude shifting that you wanted God to deal with, the very thing that you wanted God to do, he sends you to a natural thing to deal with the spiritual problem. A lot of times we think that deliverance only comes when we come to the house of God and the man of God lays hands on us. But trust me, watch this. The children of Israel, when they were in bondage, every step of the process was of deliverance. From the flies, from the frogs, from the water turning into blood, everything that they stepped in was part of deliverance. And he sends David to a 9 to 5 to fight a spiritual battle. I wonder what it is that God is doing when we're complaining about certain things that are happening at the job. God is looking at us saying, if you only knew what I'm really doing behind the scenes, if you only recognize why I had you at the place or have you at the place where I have you, your limited view can only see a certain level. But what I'm really doing is allowing you to experience the thing that you're in for a spiritual battle. The next thing that then happens. And I want y'all to follow me. Follow me on this. After he then has this occupation, after David has this job, a new opportunity comes to David. And I want you to understand that this new opportunity that comes to David is an opportunity that seems chaotic. Well, what was the opportunity? There was an enemy of the children of Israel by the name of Goliath. Goliath was an intimidating foe. In fact, in verse 4, of 1 Samuel 17, it says, then Goliath, the Philistine champion, watch this, it says that he was a champion. He wasn't just a little small person. He was a champion. He was somebody that won a whole lot of battles. Came out of the Philistines' rank to face the forces of Israel. He was over 9 feet tall. Look at how tall he was. 9 feet. He wore a bronze helmet, and his bronze coat of mail weighed 125 pounds. He also wore bronze leg armor, and he carried a bronze javelin in his shoulder. The shaft of his spear was as heavy and thick as a weaver's beam, tipped with an iron spearhead that weighed 15 pounds. His armor bearer walked ahead of him and carrying his shield. And this Goliath, this massive giant, comes to the people of Israel and threatens them. It is interesting that generally all of the armies of Israel were afraid of Goliath. They felt as if he looked too big and he was too massive for any of them to overcome him. But there was something different about David. I didn't understand that not only was David, watch this, anointed to have opportunity to come to him, but he is then also anointed to see opportunity and seize opportunity. That is the challenge, because everybody can't see or seize opportunity. Because sometimes God will call you to do something that is way bigger than you. God will call you to something that on the surface it terrifies you because you've never done it before. You never experienced that before. You've never even been in that type of situation. But God has to anoint you. He has to anoint you to see it and seize it. Because if he doesn't give you the ability to see it, you won't be able to see opportunity, because sometimes opportunity that comes from God looks threatening against you. He then says, I have to anoint you, because not only something, because generally what happens when opportunity does come, it looks terrifying. It looks overwhelming. So the presence of God has to come upon the young man to let him know that you are ready. In spite of all the negativity around you, in spite of everybody saying that it can't be done and that it can't be apprehended and nobody can kill Goliath, David, you're different because the presence of God is over you. Amen. And every time you dwell in his presence, God shows you something that you couldn't see before. Every time you're in his presence, he shows you a target. He shows you something that doesn't even look threatening. See, in the natural, it looks threatening. But when you go into his presence, that threatening thing looks like a small thing. He sees opportunity. If he had not been anointed to see it, he probably would have been scared of the opportunity. I wanted to let you know that God is going to open certain doors that are different from the places that you've been in. He's going to open certain doors that has been above your past experiences. But don't be intimidated by the door or the opportunity that he puts in front of you, because if he allowed the opportunity to come to you, watch this, then that means that you are anointed for the job. Amen. He anoints him. Because if he was not anointed, he would have said no. He would have turned away from the blessing that came in disguise of an enemy. Several things begin to happen. At this point, Goliath begins to taunt the children of Israel. The people of Israel were then terrified. They were then scared because of Goliath. But it was something different about David. David, he wasn't intimidated by Goliath. He said something that was very interesting. Actually, we can go to verse 26. Look at verse 26, 1 Samuel 17, verse 26. Look at what David says. David asked the soldiers standing by, what will a man get for killing